Okay, so this happened last week and I'm still processing everything, but I need to get this off my chest because I'm about to go nuclear on her ass and IDK. Maybe I need validation that I'm not being completely insane? Though, TBH, I don't really care at this point. Michaela and I have been together for 3 years. We met at this charity hackathon where we were actually competing against each other. I was leading the back-end team, and she was front-end lead for her company. Our teams got merged halfway through because the organizers thought our projects complemented each other. We stayed up for like 40 hours straight, coding and arguing, and somehow ended up making out in the server room at 4 a.m. Not the most romantic start, but whatever. Fast forward to now, or I guess last week. We got engaged 6 months ago. I spent almost 3 months of salary on a vintage ring with this unique emerald that belonged to my grandmother. Michaela always said she hated generic diamond rings, so I thought this was perfect. She seemed happy with it. At least I thought so. She went on this girls' trip to Italy and Greece with her college friends. It was supposed to be her last hurrah before we start seriously planning the wedding. I had some big project deadlines, so I couldn't go. Plus, it was supposed to be just for the girls anyway. I even bought her this amazing dress for our anniversary right before she left. This emerald green silk thing that matched her ring and cost me almost $1,000. So I'm sitting at home last Tuesday night, grinding through code, when I get this video message from her. I figured it was going to be her drunk with her friends or something, showing me some tourist spot. But no, it's her on some fucking boat. Not even a real yacht, BTW. I looked it up later. Just some mid-size cruiser, making out with this Italian-looking dude. She's wearing my fucking dress, the anniversary dress. Then, I get a text right after the video. Found someone who actually knows how to treat women. Unlike you, he has 3 companies and a yacht. Enjoy your pathetic studio apartment while I live like a queen, LOL. BTW, I already moved my stuff out. Left your engagement ring on the kitchen table. It's worth more as scrap metal anyway. I just sat there staring at my phone. 3 years. 3 fucking years. And she ends it with a video of her cheating and a text message? Who does that? What kind of psycho shit is that? But here's the thing. I didn't freak out. I didn't call her. I didn't even respond. Because suddenly everything made sense. The last few months, she'd been weird about her phone. Staying late at work events, being super critical of our apartment. Which BTW is a nice 1-bedroom in a good part of town, not some studio like she said. So I started thinking. She was in Mykonos. I knew because she'd been posting those perfectly staged Instagram pics with location tags. Gotta get those likes. Our trip was booked through my travel account since I had status with the airline. And I remembered. I paid for her return ticket on my credit card. I logged into my airline account and canceled her return flight. Just straight up canceled it. Then I checked our shared accounts and saw she'd been moving small amounts of money out for months. She'd also maxed out our joint credit card, which I'm the primary on. So I called the hotel, told them there was a problem with the payment method on file, and that unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to continue covering the room charges after the prepaid portion ended, which was the next day. The guy was super understanding. Said they'd need a new card from her or she'd have to check out. I didn't sleep that night. Just kept thinking about her in my dress with that guy, looking up who he might be based on the boat name in the background of the video. Turns out he's some small-time businessman who rents that boat to impress tourists. 3 companies, my ass. He owns part of a couple restaurants and a boat rental service. But he does this same routine with women on vacation all the time, according to reviews I found. 2 days later, my phone explodes. 93 missed calls, voicemails, texts, all from Michaela. Turns out Yacht Boy ghosted her, took her designer bags, including the one I bought her for Christmas, and disappeared. The hotel wanted 3,000 euros or they were calling the police. She had no flight home, and all her friends had already left because they were on a different return flight. Her messages went from angry, "Answer your fucking phone," to panicked, "I'm stranded, please help," to sobbing voicemails where I could barely understand her. The last one was just her crying, saying the hotel security was escorting her to get her stuff, and she didn't know where to go. I still haven't responded. But I did take screenshots of everything. The cheating video, her nasty text, all of it. I sent it all to myself on a separate email and backed it up. Then I called a locksmith and changed the locks on our apartment. Took the ring she left, which was definitely not on the kitchen table. Found it in the bathroom trash. This psycho really threw away a family heirloom and put it in my safety deposit box. This morning I went through our place and found she'd only taken her clothes and personal stuff. All the expensive things we bought together, the 4K TV, the gaming setup, the fancy kitchen stuff, she left behind. Probably thought she was upgrading to Yacht Boy's supposed mansion. I'm sitting here now, drinking a beer, looking at her pathetic texts, asking me to please send money for a hotel and flight home. She's apparently sleeping in the hotel lobby because they wouldn't let her stay in the room. I could just block her and move on. But that's not enough. Not after what she did. Not after sending me that video in the dress I bought her. I've got a plan. She has no idea what's coming. The flight cancellation was just the beginning. I've never been this angry in my life, but I'm thinking clearer than ever. Update coming when there's more to tell. And trust me, there will be. Update 1. So a lot of you asked for updates after my last post. And holy shit do I have some. It's been 4 days since I found out Michaela was cheating on me with some fake Euro yacht guy. And 3 days since I canceled her flight and hotel payment. First, you guys need to see what I've been dealing with. Here's a sample of the texts I've gotten. I have literally hundreds at this point. Day 1 after hotel payment stopped. Answer your fucking phone. The hotel is threatening to call the police. I know you did this. Day 2. Please, Jeff. I'm sleeping in the lobby. They took my room key. Nobody will help me. I tried calling my parents, but they're not answering. I need money for a flight. Day 2, later. I'm sorry about what I said. It was stupid. Vittorio took all my stuff and blocked me. Please just help me get home and we can talk. Day 3. I had to sell my watch to get a hostel room. It's disgusting here. There are cockroaches. Please send me money. I'll pay you back, I swear. Day 3, later. I know you're reading these. My phone shows read receipts. Why are you doing this to me? I didn't respond to any of these. Not a single one. But I wasn't just sitting around either. I had to figure out why she did this. Like, we were literally planning our wedding 2 weeks ago. So I started digging through our shared laptop. Yeah, she forgot to log out of her accounts, LOL. Found some very interesting DMs between her and her friend Ashley dating back 3 months. Turns out Michaela thought I was playing it too safe with my career. She was pissed that I turned down this startup opportunity that would have required 80-hour weeks and relocating to another state. She told Ashley that she didn't sign up to marry some basic code monkey and was tired of being the ambitious one in the relationship. This is the same woman who, when I asked if she wanted to start looking at houses in the suburbs, said she loved our life in our apartment. The same woman who said she was proud of me for prioritizing work-life balance. What a fucking joke. So I finally decided to help her. I sent her exactly 500 euros through PayPal. Enough for maybe 2 nights in a cheap hotel and some food, but definitely not enough for a flight home. I included a note. This is all I can spare right now. Having some financial issues. She immediately called me 12 times in a row. I didn't pick up. Then she sent a long message about how sorry she was and how Vittorio had manipulated her, and she made a terrible mistake and blah blah blah. Then I did something that surprised even me. I called her parents. Now, I've always gotten along with Michaela's dad Bob, but her mom Diane has always been difficult. Always making little comments about how I should be making more money. How their friend's daughter married a guy who took her to Bali twice a year. Now I understand where Michaela got her attitude from. I called, and Bob picked up. I told him I was worried about Michaela because she was stranded in Greece after her boyfriend abandoned her. He was confused as hell, asking, what boyfriend? Wasn't she on a girls' trip? I acted all confused too, like, oh, she didn't tell you about Vittorio, the guy with the yacht? Then I offered to forward the video she sent me. Bob was silent for a long time after I described what was in it. Then he asked me to send it to his email. 10 minutes later, he called back and his voice was like ice. He asked for details on where she was staying. I gave him the hostel info she'd sent in her desperate texts. He said he and Diane would handle it from here. I'm pretty sure they're wiring her money for a flight, which kind of ruins my plan to let her stew longer, but whatever. Having her parents know what she did is almost better. Meanwhile, I've been busy on this end too. I found out she'd been taking small amounts from our joint account for months. Like 200 here, 300 there. I tallied it up. Almost 6,000 total. When I confronted her about some missing money back in April, she gaslit me, saying I must have spent it and forgotten. I actually apologized to her, so I went to the bank and closed our joint account. Transferred everything to my personal account. Technically, half that money is hers, but she can fight me for it when she gets back. I'm keeping receipts of all the shit she took from our joint funds. I also found out she'd been using our joint credit card to buy stuff for this trip, including lingerie that I definitely never saw, and a fucking swimsuit that cost $400. Who spends that on a swimsuit? Someone planning to impress their European fling, that's who. The credit card is in my name, she's just an authorized user. So I called and removed her. Then I went through our apartment more carefully and found some interesting shit. A secret second phone, hidden in her yoga mat. Who the fuck hides a phone in a yoga mat? It was dead, and I don't have a charger for it. But I'm betting there's some good stuff on there. I also found printouts of Vittorio's Instagram and some handwritten notes about places in Mykonos. This wasn't some random vacation fling. She planned this shit. Probably been talking to this guy for months. Oh, And I found out through our shared Netflix account that she's been watching a bunch of those gross reality shows about trophy wives and billionaire lifestyles. The algorithm doesn't lie. She's been binging this crap for months while telling me she was watching documentaries for personal growth. Last night I got a call from Ashley, the friend from the DMs. She was supposed to be on the Greece trip too. She sounded weird, like she was trying to feel me out. Asked how I was doing, if I'd talked to Michaela. I played dumb at first. Then she admitted that Michaela had asked her to call me to check if I was okay, aka see if I would send more money. Here's where it gets good. Ashley cracked after I stayed silent for a bit. She admitted that Michaela had been planning to meet Vittorio for months. She'd connected with him on Instagram after seeing him in the background of some influencers' posts. They'd been DMing since February. The girls' trip was specifically planned around meeting him. And, this is the best part, Ashley told me that right before Michaela sent me that video, she was bragging to all the girls about how she was upgrading, and that Vittorio had promised to fly her back and forth from the US while they got to know each other better. She even said she was thinking of taking a break from me to explore things with him. Guess that break turned into a clean break when Yacht Boy convinced her he was loaded, and then he robbed her ass and disappeared. I would feel bad if it wasn't so fucking perfect. According to Ashley, Michaela had been telling all her friends for months that I was holding her back, and she deserved more luxury in her life. Apparently, my birthday gift to her this year, a pair of AirPods she specifically asked for, was embarrassingly cheap compared to what her friends' boyfriends were buying them. I thanked Ashley for her honesty. Then I asked if she was still friends with Michaela after all this. She got quiet and said she didn't know. I told her I appreciated the call and hung up. So now, I'm just waiting. According to the flight info, her dad texted me. Yeah, we're in contact now. Michaela will be back tomorrow night, but not to our nice, convenient airport. No, her parents could only get her a flight to an airport 2 hours away, with a layover in Frankfurt that adds 6 hours to her travel time. Ouch, I've already packed up the rest of her stuff. It's sitting in storage boxes in my parents' garage, changed all the passwords on our shared accounts, returned the wedding venue deposit, lost half of it, but whatever. Told my family what happened so she can't spin some bullshit story. The locks are changed. Her key fob to the building has been deactivated. Had to tell the building manager we broke up and she moved out. She's going to come back to find herself completely locked out of the life she thought was so basic. Next update will probably be after she lands. Her parents are picking her up from the airport, but I'm sure she'll show up here eventually. I've got the Ring doorbell ready to record whatever meltdown happens. Stay tuned. The best is yet to come. Update 2. Hey Reddit. It's been a crazy 48 hours since my last update. Michaela finally made it back from her European adventure, and OMG, I have so much to tell you guys. Thanks for all your support on my last posts. Reading your comments actually helped me stay strong when things got really intense. So Michaela's flight was supposed to land at 8:40 p.m. at this airport 2 hours away. I knew her parents were picking her up. Her dad Bob texted me the details, so I figured I had some time before I'd have to deal with her. I was just chilling at my buddy Dave's place playing Elden Ring and trying not to obsessively check my phone when I got a text from Bob around 10:30 p.m. saying they had Michaela and were driving her to their house. I thought that would be it for the night, but at like 1 a.m., my Ring doorbell goes off. I check the app and there's Michaela standing outside our building looking rough. Her hair was a mess. She had on sweatpants and this ratty airport hoodie, and she was repeatedly pressing our apartment buzzer. Obviously, her key fob didn't work since I had it deactivated. I didn't answer. After about 5 minutes of buzzing, she started texting me. I know you're in there. Let me in. We need to talk. Jeffrey, this isn't funny. I'm exhausted. Please just let me in. My parents are being insane right now. I need my stuff. I live there too. You can't just lock me out. I just watched through the Ring app as she got more and more frustrated. Eventually, she sat down on the steps and started crying. Part of me felt bad for a second, but then I remembered the video of her kissing that guy in the dress I bought her, and that feeling went away real quick. Around 1:30 a.m., a car pulled up. It was her dad. He got out looking pissed, said something to her that made her stand up, and practically shoved her into the passenger seat. He looked directly at my Ring camera, gave a small nod, and drove off. The next morning, I got a text from Bob asking if we could meet for coffee. I agreed, and we met at this little cafe near my office. Bob looked exhausted. He told me Michaela had stolen her mom's car keys in the middle of the night to drive to our apartment. When they realized she was gone, they tracked her phone and came to get her. Bob was surprisingly cool about everything. He apologized for what Michaela did and said he and Diane were beyond disappointed in her. Then he asked about her stuff. I told him it was all packed up in my parents' garage and he could pick it up whenever. He seemed relieved and thanked me for not just throwing it all out, which honestly had crossed my mind, lol. We were just finishing our coffees when my phone started blowing up with texts. Michaela again, demanding I meet her to explain myself. Like I'm the one who needs to explain anything. Bob saw the text coming in and just shook his head. He said he'd handle it and left. I went back to work and tried to focus, but around 3 p.m. I got a call from the building manager saying there was a situation in the lobby. I headed downstairs to find Michaela screaming at the poor desk guy who wouldn't let her up. She had two of her friends with her, not Ashley, but these two other girls from her work who always gave me weird vibes. When she saw me, she went quiet for a second, then started yelling about how I had no right to lock her out, how I was being childish, how I overreacted to one mistake in the middle of the lobby. People were staring. One of her friends was filming with her phone like this was going to go on her TikTok or something. I just stood there until she ran out of steam. Then I said very calmly that her belongings were at my parents' house and she could coordinate with them to pick everything up. I told her our relationship was over, there was nothing to discuss, and she needed to leave before security was called. She got right in my face then, jabbing her finger into my chest, saying I would regret this, that I was making a huge mistake, that Vittoria wasn't even a big deal, and I was blowing everything out of proportion. I laughed. I actually laughed right in her face. I asked if Vittorio had returned her designer bags yet, or if he was too busy showing them off to his next tourist mark. Her face went white, then red. Then she tried to slap me, but I caught her wrist. Her friend gasped dramatically like we were in some soap opera. The building security guy stepped in then and told them all they needed to leave. Michaela was crying again, but that calculated kind of crying where you're checking to see if it's working on people. It wasn't. As they were being escorted out, I called after her, asking if she'd enjoyed wearing my anniversary gift dress for her new boyfriend. She flipped me off without turning around. Classy to the end, that one. After that, things escalated fast. She started calling all our mutual friends with some crazy story about how I'd stranded her in a dangerous situation in Europe and stole her money. Most of our friends messaged me asking for my side, and I just sent them screenshots of her original message and the video. After that, the calls from concerned friends mysteriously stopped, but Michaela wasn't done. That night, her mom Diane called me screaming about how I was spreading revenge porn by showing people the video Michaela sent me. I calmly explained that sharing a video someone voluntarily sent me to explain why we broke up isn't revenge porn, and maybe she should ask her daughter why she thought sending me a video of her cheating was a good idea in the first place. Diane hung up on me. The next morning, I woke up to an email from Michaela threatening legal action if I didn't let her back into the apartment to retrieve her property. She CC'd some lawyer friend of hers from college. I forwarded it to my buddy who actually is a lawyer, and he laughed and told me not to worry about it. I also got a text from Bob apologizing for Diane's call and asking for a list of what was in storage so they could check nothing was missing when they picked it up. I sent him the inventory I'd made while packing. He texted back just, "Thank you. Sorry again." I was feeling pretty good about how things were going when I got home from the gym that evening and found something disturbing. Someone had tried to use a key on our apartment door. There were fresh scratches all around the lock. The building has security cameras in the hallways, so I asked the manager to check the footage. Sure enough, it was Michaela, trying to use her old key even though I'd changed the locks. The manager said he'd have a word with her if she came back. Later that night, I was going through more of Michaela's stuff that I'd found around the apartment when I came across a small box hidden in her winter boots in the back of the closet. Inside was my grandmother's ring, the engagement ring she'd claimed to have left on the kitchen table, but that I'd actually found in the bathroom trash. Except it wasn't just the ring. There was a printed email from some jewelry buyer offering her $3,000 for it. The email was dated 2 weeks before her Europe trip. She had been planning to sell my family heirloom ring before she even left. I took pictures of everything and sent them to her parents. Within minutes, Bob called me sounding more angry than I've ever heard him. He wanted to know if I was absolutely certain about the date on the email. When I confirmed it, he just said, "That's all I needed to know," and hung up. An hour later, Michaela started blowing up my phone again, this time with tearful voicemails saying her parents had cut her off and were making her move out of their house by the end of the week. She begged me to tell them it was all a misunderstanding. I blocked her number. This morning, Ashley, the friend who called me earlier, texted to let me know that Michaela had shown up at her apartment at 6 a.m., asking to crash on her couch. Ashley had said no. Apparently, Michaela is now staying with one of the work friends who was with her at my building. Oh, and the cherry on top? I found out through our wedding venue that Michaela had called them yesterday, trying to cancel our reservation and get the deposit refunded to her. The venue called me to confirm, and I explained the situation. They were super understanding and agreed to refund the portion they could to my original payment method. I'm supposed to meet with Bob tomorrow to hand over the last of Michaela's things, including her childhood photos and some family items she'd left in our apartment. I'm honestly not looking forward to it. This whole situation has been exhausting, and seeing her dad just reminds me of everything. The weird thing is, I'm not even that sad anymore. I'm just tired, and maybe a little satisfied that she's facing actual consequences for once in her life. I'll update again after I meet with Bob. Something tells me this saga isn't over yet. Michaela doesn't seem like the type to just accept defeat and move on. Final update. Hey Reddit. It's been 2 wild weeks since my last update, and a lot has happened. I think this might be my final post about this whole mess because, TBH, I'm ready to put it behind me. But you guys have been so supportive through all this that I wanted to give you the full conclusion. So I met with Bob, Michaela's dad, the day after my last post to hand over her remaining stuff. We met at this diner halfway between our places, and he looked like he hadn't slept in days. The first thing he did was slide a small box across the table. Inside was my grandmother's emerald ring. He said he'd convinced Michaela to return it after finding out she tried to sell it. The way his jaw tightened when he said convinced told me everything I needed to know about how that conversation went. We got coffee, and he opened up about some stuff I never knew. Apparently, this wasn't Michaela's first time pulling something like this. Back in college, she'd gotten engaged to some guy from a wealthy family, then cheated on him with his roommate right before graduation. Bob and Diane had to deal with the fallout from that too. He said they'd hoped she'd grown out of it, and that's why they were being so hard on her now. The weirdest part? Bob apologized to me, said he and Diane should have warned me about her pattern before things got serious. I told him it wasn't his responsibility, but NGL, it would have been nice to know I was dating someone with a history of trading up partners like their Pokemon cards. After we said goodbye, I went home feeling kinda empty. Like I'd gotten my revenge. She was facing consequences, but I still felt IDK, hollow. I kept replaying our relationship in my head, trying to spot the warning signs I missed. There were plenty. The way she'd casually mention her friends' boyfriends' jobs or vacations. How she'd roll her eyes when I talked about saving for our future instead of spending on luxury stuff now. The next day, I was grabbing lunch when I spotted Michaela across the street going into a coffee shop. I ducked into a store to avoid her, but something made me watch through the window. She was meeting with this older woman who looked super professional, like pantsuit, portfolio, the works. They talked intensely for about 20 minutes, with Michaela getting more and more agitated, waving her hands around and stuff. Eventually, the woman just closed her folder, said something short, and left. Michaela sat there alone, looking pissed. I found out what that was about the next day when I got an email from a lawyer. Turns out Michaela had consulted with them about suing me for illegally evicting her and abandonment in a foreign country. The email basically said they'd decline to represent her after reviewing the evidence, aka the video, and text she sent me, and wanted to give me a heads up that she might try other attorneys. I forwarded it to my lawyer friend who said this was actually good news. It meant she'd likely been told by multiple lawyers that she had no case. He offered to send her a cease and desist letter if she kept threatening legal action, but I decided to wait and see what happened next. I didn't have to wait long. That weekend, I was hanging with my parents helping my dad fix his deck when my mom got a weird call. It was Diane, Michaela's mom. She wanted to meet with my mom, woman to woman. My mom, being the straightforward person she is, put Diane on speaker right there in the backyard. Diane tried this whole guilt trip about how I was destroying her daughter's reputation and being cruel by sharing the video Michaela sent me. My mom just listened, then calmly asked if Diane had actually seen the video. There was this long pause. Then Diane admitted Bob had described it, but she'd refused to watch it herself. My mom suggested maybe she should see exactly what her daughter thought was appropriate to send before defending her. Diane hung up. An hour later, Bob called my dad. Apparently, Diane had finally watched the video and was taking some time to process. Bob sounded exhausted, but thanked us for being reasonable throughout everything. I felt bad for the guy, stuck between his daughter and wife, both being difficult in different ways. Meanwhile, Michaela was working overtime trying to control the narrative with our friends. She'd been posting these vague healing from betrayal quotes on Instagram and telling people I'd overreacted to a harmless vacation flirtation. Most of our mutual friends saw through it, especially after she kept changing her story. First, I was controlling and jealous. Then, I'd cheated on her first. Then I'd somehow manipulated her into sending that video. The truth came out in a pretty spectacular way when we all got together for our friend Tom's birthday. I wasn't sure if I should go since I knew Michaela might be there, but Tom insisted. When I arrived, Michaela was already holding court with a few people who hadn't heard the full story. The moment she saw me, she got up to leave, but Tom's girlfriend Jen blocked her path. What followed was the most awkward and satisfying 10 minutes of my life. Jen, who'd been on group trips with Michaela before, started asking very specific questions about the yacht guy, like his name, what he did, how they met. With each question, Michaela's story fell apart a little more. Finally, someone asked to see the infamous video, saying maybe it wasn't that bad. Before I could object, Michaela flipped out, screaming that I was sharing intimate videos without her consent. I calmly pointed out that she sent me that video specifically to hurt me and end our relationship, so there was nothing intimate or private about it. Then I offered to delete it from my phone right then if she'd admit to everyone what she'd actually done. She called me an asshole and stormed out. The aftermath of that party was like a dam breaking. People who'd been giving her the benefit of the doubt started reaching out to me with their own Michaela stories. Times she'd hit on their boyfriends, backhanded compliments she'd given, lies she'd told. It was like everyone had been waiting for permission to admit she wasn't a great person. Things escalated again when I got a call from an unknown number a few days later. It was Michaela's new boss at the job she'd just started a month before our breakup. Apparently, Michaela had been calling in sick for over a week, claiming she was stranded in Europe due to a family emergency. Her boss found out the truth through a mutual connection and was calling to verify. I didn't volunteer any details, just confirmed that Michaela had been back in the country for almost 2 weeks. She was fired the next day. I know this because she showed up at my apartment building again, this time crying about how I'd ruined her life by getting her fired. The security guy called me down to the lobby where Michaela was creating a scene. When I got there, she was mid-rant about how I'd called her work and made up lies about her. The security footage from the lobby shows me just standing there with my arms crossed while she worked herself into a frenzy. Eventually, she tried to push past me to the elevators, and when the security guy stopped her, she shoved him too. They escorted her out and told her she was banned from the building. That night, Ashley texted me that Michaela had been officially kicked out of her friend's apartment for bringing drama and was now staying at a motel. She'd also been calling her parents nonstop, but they weren't answering. I almost felt bad for her, but then I remembered the dress and the ring in the trash, and yeah, my sympathy evaporated pretty quick. The final chapter came yesterday. Bob called to tell me Michaela had shown up at their house at 3 a.m., crying and saying she had nowhere else to go. They'd let her in, but laid down some harsh conditions. She had to move back to their hometown, live with them, and get a job there. No more financial support for her apartment or lifestyle. She'd agreed, but was apparently miserable about it. Bob also mentioned something that explained a lot. He said when Michaela was growing up, Diane had always pushed this idea that Michaela was special and deserved the best. They'd struggled financially when she was young, but when Bob's business took off in her teens, Diane went overboard compensating. Designer clothes, expensive trips, constant praise about how she was meant for bigger things. No wonder Michaela grew up feeling entitled to more than what she had. So that's where things stand now. Michaela's moving back to her parents' place in Ohio next week. I've blocked her on everything, but she keeps creating new email addresses to contact me, alternating between angry rants and tearful apologies. I don't respond to any of them. As for me, I'm doing okay. The apartment feels empty, but in a peaceful way. I've been hanging out with friends more, reconnecting with my family, focusing on my projects. My mom keeps trying to set me up with her friend's daughter, which is annoying, but also kind of sweet. The weirdest thing is that I don't even feel that angry anymore, just tired and maybe a little sad about the 3 years I invested in someone who could throw it all away so easily, but also relieved that I found out who she really was before we got married. Thanks for listening to my story, Reddit. Your comments and support helped more than you know. I'm turning off notifications for this account now. Time to close this chapter for good.